Welcome to 5-Minute Coding, SQL series. Let's get coding. Today I'll demonstrate how to verify that MySQL is installed correctly and some basics about how to use the workbench. When you launch the MySQL Workbench, you should see a screen like this. Remember that when we installed MySQL, we installed two separate components, the workbench and the server. The workbench is the interface that you will interact with and write SQL code in, and the server is a process that runs in the background. The server contains the database management system and the databases that you're working with. And it's the server that actually runs your SQL code and returns the resulting data back to the workbench. So before we can do anything with a database, the workbench has to connect to the server. Now in this case, the server will be on the same computer as the workbench. But in a real work environment, you would usually connect to a MySQL server on a separate computer. That way the database can be accessed by many users at the same time. Under MySQL Connections, you should see one connection called Local Instance. This refers to the MySQL server that is installed on your local computer. Root is the user account that you created a password for during the installation process. Localhost is another name for your local computer, and 3306 is the default port number. In the future, if you need to set up a connection to a MySQL server on another computer, you would do that by clicking the plus sign and entering the information on this screen. We don't need to do that now, so cancel out of this screen and click on the local instance connection. Then enter the password you created during the installation process. If you click Save Password in Vault, you won't be prompted for this password again. Then click OK. That will take you to the main workbench screen, and you should see three database schemas listed here. Sakila and World are the sample databases that were set up during the installation process. Sys is a system database that we won't be working with. To perform a simple test query, let's expand the World database tables and right-click on the city table. Then choose the first option called Select Rows. This will automatically create and run a query to retrieve all the data in the city table. If that worked, then you can be confident that your installation was successful. Now that we know everything is working, let's take a look at some of the features of the workbench. If you click on any table name, a list of that table's columns will be displayed in the information window. The data type and other properties for each column are also listed. Now let's look at some of the features of the SQL editor. To open an SQL file in the workbench, you can click on this folder icon to load the file into the current SQL edit window, or click this icon to load the file in a new edit window. To save the contents of the SQL edit window to a file, click the disk icon. To execute an SQL command, click the lightning bolt or press Ctrl-Shift-Enter. Before you execute a command, you need to make sure the database you want to run the command on is the active database. The active database is highlighted in bold. To change it, just double-click on the database you want to use. Notice that in this query, the table name was written as world.city, so this query would actually work even if the wrong database was selected, because the table name is prefixed with the schema name. But prefixing every element in a query with the schema name is a lot of work and it clutters up the code, so it's usually not done. So let's remove it and then see what happens if we run this query with the wrong database selected. Notice that we get a red X and an error message in the output area. In this case, the error message says table sys.city does not exist because it's looking for the city table in the sys database. Now if we select the correct database and run the query again, it runs without error. You can enter more than one SQL statement in the editor as long as each command is terminated with a semicolon. If you want to run both of the statements at once, just click the lightning bolt icon or press Ctrl-Shift-Enter. Note that the results for each query are displayed in their own tab in the results grid, here and here. If you want to run just one of the statements by itself, click anywhere on that statement and select the lightning bolt with the cursor image, or press Ctrl-Enter. Then you will just see one tab in the result grid. Now you're ready to start writing your own queries, and in the next video, we'll discuss how to write queries on a single table. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and check out the other videos in this 5-Minute Coding series.